everybody in the press is sitting on a table saying, well, Democrats have lost the Hispanic vote, they've lost the young vote, they've lost the male vote. Of course, it all came back. You just got to win elections, but we're not going to have a leader until we have a presidential nominee.
And then there's the new reporting that for Republicans, their term-limited president is feeling his age. The New York Times reports that Donald Trump's round-the-clock energy, virility, and physical stamina show signs of fading. And when he's in public, occasionally his battery shows signs of wear, reporting the White House quickly denied. Julie Roginski is a Democratic strategist and author of the Salty Politics newsletter. Stuart Stevens served as Mitt Romney's chief strategist for the 2012 campaign, now senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. Julie, will Democrats be without a clear leader until a presidential nominee is chosen?
Yeah, and that's okay, because as James Carville pointed out, I think very aptly, it doesn't matter. As long as we win elections, we'll be okay. And there are many elections to go until we get to 2028. We just had huge landslides across the country, from California to Virginia to New Jersey to Washington to even in places like Mississippi and Georgia, where we haven't really won elections at the state level before. So, look, I will say that it's fine. What we need to focus on is the business of and the infrastructure of winning, and not so much looking for a leader to bring us to the promised land. You know, Bill Clinton had a very famous line: Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. I think he was right about that. And I think it's time for us to stop looking for somebody to fall in love with and get down to the business of actually knowing how to win elections rather than looking for somebody who's going to win them for us.
Stuart, on the Republican side, Erica Kirk was asked whether Turning Point USA would support J.D. Vance. Here's what she said.
J.D. and Usha have been incredibly supportive. It's been really nice to see. And I look forward to you guys throwing the full weight of Turning Point behind them in about 3 years. Am I being subtle?
No, I'm not, don't worry. It's already, it's in the works. One of the last few conversations we had was how intentional he was about supporting JD for 28.
Would an endorsement from Erica Kirk and Turning Point be significant for the vice president, do you think?
Look, the reality is that every time an incumbent vice president has run for the nomination of their party, they've won. Now, they don't win the general election always, but I think it's pretty accurate that J.D. Vance is going to be in a very strong position. I think he'll lose. I think he's a terribly flawed candidate. When he was on the ballot in Ohio, he got 400,000 fewer votes than the Republican governor at the top of the ticket. I mean, I would have thought that was just impossible in a political science sense, 400,000 people voting for Republican governor and not voting for J.D. Vance. But it just speaks to the sort of accidental nature of J.D. Vance's political career. He came into this Ohio Senate primary. He was losing. Then Peter Thiel put $16 million into a super PAC, and that propelled him there. And once he was on the ballot, he was dragged over by the governor. So, yes, I think that's true. I think with Democrats, that's absolutely right. Until you have a process to nominate somebody. But, this whole focus on parties, I think, is less and less important. People care about issues now. I think most people are sort of consider themselves more independent, but they'll be Democrat-leaning or Republican-leaning. And I think this last election, I think James is absolutely right, was a reversion to the norm, that the 24 election was not some realignment election.
And Julie, on the Democratic side, we are years out from the primaries, but a new poll out of New Hampshire shows Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom, 28% and 24% respectively. You can see that the others are far behind in single digits. Look, long time till this matters, but do you think this is name recognition? Is it a message to donors? Does it matter at all?
Yes, yes, and no. I think it is name recognition. I think it is a message to donors. And no, I don't think it matters whatsoever. Look, you had Pete Buttigieg, who's been in the public eye now for a decade. Obviously, somebody who's incredibly erudite. No surprise at all that he has a lot of support in the Democratic Party. You've also got Gavin Newsom, who's been sticking it to Trump in a very great kind of way, on social media and virally, and just had this huge win in California. So Democrats, and I think Republicans as well, I won't speak for them, like winners, right? And right now, Gavin Newsom looks like a winner. He got this referendum over the finish line. In California, he's been sticking it to Trump. And so that's what you're seeing right now. Am I worried if I'm J.B. Pritzker or anybody else, Cory Booker for that matter, anybody else who's considering running in 28? Of course not. There's plenty of time to do that. But not so much time that they shouldn't get started now.
Yeah. Stuart, President Trump, here's a shock, quickly pounced on the New York Times reporting that he has fading stamina. He wrote, quote, "To do this requires a lot of work and energy, and I've never worked so hard in my life." And then he added, "There will be a day when I run low on energy. It happens to everyone. But with a perfect physical exam and a comprehensive cognitive test that was aced, just recently taken, it certainly is not now." We can certainly talk about the facts of whether or not he has given true, full reporting on his physical exams. But here's my question, which is apart from Donald Trump in a way. Do you think watching Donald Trump age may give more impetus to the youth movement? Could it spread to the right? We already know it's on the left. And we're showing a picture now of Donald Trump with his eyes closed. He said he wasn't napping, but some people suggested he was. What do you think is the real impact of watching an aging leader? And by the way, this was a fascinating fact from the New York Times article. He is talking a lot about the afterlife. He has brought up heaven and the question of whether he would get in half a dozen times since taking office for the second time. There is a point in everyone's life where you start to think about your own mortality. Anyway, that's a little digression. What does it all mean to watch him aging?
Well, look, I think that on Election Day a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump aged a lot. And his ability to determine the outcome of these races is pretty much over. He's a declining political asset. So he's a guy, he's 80-something, and he's getting older, and people just see this. You can't deny this. I mean, it's anytime you're putting out a statement saying, well, I'm really not tired. I'm really not. It's just sort of silly. I mean, you have to just show that. The Republican Party is still under the control of Donald Trump, but they realize that he is a fading leader, and there is great dissension underneath about what is going to be next. And that's where these internal fights are. But it's all driven by Trump being weak. If he was stronger, this wouldn't be happening. If Trump had 55% approval ratings, I don't think people would be talking about the fact that he fell asleep in the Oval Office.
He is 79 for the record, but like all of us, next year he'll be a year older. Julie Roginski, Stuart Stevens, thank you so much. Appreciate you both. Happy Thanksgiving. And still ahead, the balloons are ready, but will they fly? The questions surrounding tomorrow's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Next.
Alka-Seltzer Plus Cold or Flu Fizzy Chews. Chew, fizz.